this is Randomness with 5 Cups of Sugar, and today we'll be reviewing Volume 1 of the light novel series, I'm in Love with the Villainess. So I gotta say that so far, out of all of the Yuri light novels that I've read, I'm in Love with the Villainess is my favorite, by far. And out of the Yuri light novels and manga I've read so far, this is my second favorite. My first favorite is still Goodbye My Rose Garden, but this one's definitely a close second. So basically the premise is kind of like an isekai. So it's very similar to my next life as a villainess. All routes lead to doom. So I thought, is this gonna be like the same kind of thing that I read before? Because I really liked that series and how Katarina was also like basically unstatedly bi. I thought, is this just gonna be like basically the same kind of thing? Well, no. First of all, Rei only has eyes for Claire, who's the villainess. And in the game, the surname's automatically Taylor, so Rei Taylor. And Claire Francois is the villainess. In my next life as a villainess, she obviously got reincarnated as the villainess Katarina. So here, Rei is reincarnated as the heroine. So there's the first difference. Number 2, she's only pursuing Miss Claire, versus my next life as a villainess, Katarina accidentally triggers the ending where she kind of courts all of them and they all like her. So the reverse harem route. So it's different here. Like, they constantly states it from the beginning that she's only after Claire and her affections. Also, since Rei is not a villainess like Katarina, she is not trying to avoid her doom. So quick synopsis, Rei Taylor basically was living in Japan before, and then she suddenly wakes up in the game Revolution, where she is suddenly the heroine, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm in the game now. So obviously she's like, I'm gonna go for the route that wasn't even an option in the game and go for Claire. Because you only really had 3 paths, so 3 princes, Rod, Thane, and you. So she was like, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna go for Claire. And so she knows the events of the game, so she can try to manipulate it and use her knowledge from the game, because she was obsessed with it. She can use her knowledge to basically have an advantage in the game. That's what she thinks. Various events happen. She has an old married couple kind of relationship with Claire, and she basically finds a way to stay at her side. It's a very cute story. Has a lot of comedy, especially with the bantering they have with each other, with the old married couple kind of vibes. And here you can see the characters. We have Lane, who is Claire's personal maid, Rei Taylor, and her roommate Misha. The table of contents and pages in between are very beautifully designed, as with the artwork on the front cover you can see here, and on the spine, and on the back. The chapters are longer than some of the other light novels that I've read. So you can see that like chapter 1 lasts from page 7 to 105, and then the next chapter is about 80 pages long. And then there's bonus chapter, which follows the point of view of Lane after the main events of the story for this novel has ended. And then there's an afterword by the author. The art is beautiful and accompanies the events that happen in the story and complements it quite well. I do like how this story has mixes of action in it, isekai and Yuri romance. It's kind of not explicit yet, but other than like Rei constantly confessing her love, but it's not currently reciprocated, like blatantly or anything. I do like how the light novel explicitly talks about sexuality. So here we have some parts about sexuality and trying to say that, well, I guess distinguish between different sexualities, because it's not really a topic of discussion in this other world, and talking about gender and how it's different for everyone, and it isn't necessarily the same experience that everyone has, and how like Rei knows that Miss Claire may never reciprocate her feelings, but she says that she's okay with it, but obviously it hurts. You can obviously tell that this story has to do with magic. They go to the Royal Academy, which is a school for magic, and it has a decree. So they're in this kingdom or country called the Bower Kingdom. So the Bowers are the royal family. Nobles and commoners both have magic, but magic is an inborn or innate ability with a kind of like a limit that's you're born with. So, in other words, commoners can have a higher magical ability than aristocrats or the nobles. So in that sense, the Bower Kingdom was also looking at, like, I guess they have a meritocratic policy saying that the Royal Academy isn't just for the nobles, like that commoners are allowed to. So this book looks at class differences, because this is supposed to be kind of like equivalent to medieval Europe kind of thing. Just like in Konosuba, Rei can also use her knowledge from her previous world to make money. And she says that she's saving it for later, when something happens, which we do not know yet. But yeah, here is another piece of artwork. Near the end of the book. And the bonus chapter honestly made me cry. The feelings in this book were really descriptive, to the point that I felt them too. Like, sometimes I felt secondhand embarrassment, amusement. I felt the fun of the teasing, because Rei always teases Miss Claire, and it was so awesome and funny, as well as like, oh, the tension from the action scenes, like being nervous or being sad. And so I went through the full spectrum of emotions, which indicates really good writing. What is my verdict for I'm in Love with the Villainess light novel, Volume 1? Well, I know that sometimes I give ratings that are above a scale of 10, and this is such an occasion, because it really sparked my emotions, and I went through the full spectrum of emotions, and I really think that indicates good writing. I was a bit cautious and apprehensive when I first picked up this book, because I was like, I don't need a rerun of like My Next Life as a Villainess. Even though that was an awesome series, I don't want to read the same kind of story again. But I was really pleasantly surprised, and this book lasted quite a while, because there's like 200 something pages, and so I got to enjoy it for a while. So I'd give it a 15 out of 10, because if you remember, I gave Goodbye My Rose Garden a 20 out of 10. So this is my second favorite, Yuri, overall, and I'd highly suggest that you read it. There are a lot of people who like it online, and I was actually recommended it by someone. So, go for it. Volume 2 of I'm in Love with the Villainess light novel was released on February 23rd, 2021, so fairly recently. And I'm going to be grabbing a copy of that and probably review that when it comes time. It's so dang cute, and like, go for it. So if you liked this review, please like and subscribe. Bye. Take care.